What's going on? Gonna do a quick video here on my biggest criticism of The Last Jedi. So I came across a tweet the other day that said Rian Johnson really should be recognized as a genuinely excellent filmmaker. Also, The Last Jedi needs to be re-examined as genuinely interesting despite missteps in the best film of the sequel trilogy. And I couldn't disagree more with this post. So I responded to it and said, whether you like The Last Jedi or not, it is undeniable that it was one of, if not the most damaging movies to a franchise in the history of cinema. Part of being an excellent filmmaker requires you not torpedoing the biggest franchise in the world when you get your shot at it. So on that tweet, I wasn't really commenting on the quality of The Last Jedi. I'm just fundamentally, if you just look at the results after The Last Jedi, it had massive repercussions as far as the size of the fan base. A significant portion of fans swore off of Star Wars after that movie, and it's never recovered. It's only gotten worse to the point now where, a show like Andor couldn't even crack the top 10 for weekly streaming on the week of its finale when it had 12 episodes for people to watch, and it couldn't get into the top 10. We're talking about Star Wars, which used to be just 5 years ago would have been recognized as the biggest franchise in the world, and it's just been decimated over the last 5 years as far as the size of it. But I'm not going to really, dig into exactly my case for why The Last Jedi is the most damaging. Like, you can check that tweet and I battle it out with people and kind of go through some of the reasons why I believe it is such a problem for Star Wars, why it's done so much damage. But more specifically on why I really dislike those movies as far as just the movies are concerned, the quality of the movies. I think it's anti-Star Wars. I think the message in it is anti-Star Wars. I don't think it's a good Star Wars film. I don't like it as a film, period. But I don't even think it's a good representation of Star Wars. I think it's got the exact opposite message that you would want to find in a Star Wars movie. So, for example, one of my biggest problems with it is that once you get into a position where you decide that Luke is going to be the impetus for why Kylo Ren goes to the dark side, and that Luke contemplated murdering his nephew in his sleep before he'd ever done anything wrong. He just was going to murder him cold-blooded in his sleep. He was contemplating that, and that's the extreme opposite of what we'd last seen Luke, in the trilogy. At the end of episode 6, that's a much different person than, where we see that he was willing to contemplate murdering his nephew in cold blood. So it's a massive gap between what happened. How would this man get so broken to where he could even contemplate and doing such a horrifically awful, like, everybody can acknowledge that murdering your nephew in his sleep in cold blood, when he's not done anything. Kylo had not killed anybody then. He's not done anything wrong there. And so at that point, when you're contemplating murdering him, it's just an unequivocally awful act. And so what happened that broke him and made him this kind of a person, where he went from the kind of guy who would lay down his life, he was willing to die rather than to kill his own father. He had so much faith that his father, Darth Vader, one of the worst people in this universe who committed unspeakable crimes, he was willing to die for that man because he believed he could be brought back. So what happened to get him to a point where he was willing to murder an innocent kid? So that's not explored. And if you're going to make that jump where he's willing to murder his nephew, you have to explore what happened leading up to that. And not only that, if you're talking about his nephew, that's also Leia's kid. So what happened between their relationship? Like, surely if your brother goes and tries to murder your nephew or contemplates murdering your nephew, and this results in your nephew becoming a mass murderer or psychopath afterwards, that's probably going to throw a little wrench in your brother sister relationship at that point. That's not explored. And same with Han. Like what happened, that would be a monumental event in their lives that is not explored in these movies. It's not explored in this movie. It's not explored at all. What happened when this monumental event took place? That would change things dramatically. You have to explore that if you're going to introduce it. He doesn't. He doesn't explore it at all. But then to make the matters worse is when you get to the end of the movie and he decides, he goes to Leia that and tells her that there's no hope for Kylo, and she said, I held out hope for so long, but I know my son is gone. And then you have his, when he confronts Kylo, you have, Kylo coming up to him, did you come back to say you forgive me, to save my soul? And his response is no. Like, this is the opposite of the message of Star Wars. Like, I mean, he was willing to lay down his life for Darth Vader, for his father, because he believed that even such a bad person as that could come back, that he was redeemable. There is no reason for him to, there's no reason explored at least for why he would believe that Kylo is completely unforgivable, cannot be redeemed. And the situation when you're looking at his relationship with Darth Vader versus Kylo, he should be much more willing to forgive Kylo, considering the guilt he should feel for having sent him down this path, like contemplating on murdering him. Kylo, for all he knows, was going to get murdered by Luke, and that was the impetus for him turning bad. So, like, Luke should be in a position where he would want to, show some kind of empathy, some kind of remorse to Kylo, but he doesn't. He's just, no, I don't forgive you. Like, I don't forgive you. Like, it's a preposterous notion as far as Star Wars is concerned. Now, I mean, fine, if you want to go down that route, fine, but it's anti-Star Wars. It's complete. You've taken Luke and made him a cynical person, unwilling to find the ability to see redeeming qualities in his nephew, to feel that he could bring him back. He's given up on him. He's become a cynical old hermit. And that's how he ends his journey with Kylo, is he ends as a cynical bastard at the end of this movie. And then even his own mother, Leia, is sitting there saying she sees no hope in him. She is also so cynical that she doesn't see that any hope in bringing her son back to the good side, even though they did it with Darth Vader. These are two people who were able to bring back one of the worst people to ever exist in this universe. They were able to bring him back, but they can't find any ability to try to bring back their nephew. They've completely given up on him. It's such a anti-Star Wars message, and it's like one of those things where, like, when you see that, and then especially when you get the rise of Skywalker, and this is not fixed. They don't fix this message in the rise of Skywalker. It just leaves you with Leia and Luke being broken characters and being cynical. It's just it's bad writing for a Star Wars movie. And the fact that he didn't explore, he tried to introduce such a crazy event between Luke and Kylo, and he doesn't explore the ramifications of that event and that family, is just, that's just lazy writing. He didn't want to go and spend the time necessary to tell the story of the, that would be needed to justify the kind of event that he portrayed. And it's bad writing. It's lazy, bad writing. And even, you can like it all you want. I mean, taste is subjective, but in my opinion, it's not good writing for any kind of story, any kind of book or movie or TV show that I'm watching. If something like that is introduced, you better pick it apart and explore it. Problem is, if you try to do that with Star Wars, you would have to turn it into a drama between their whole family dynamics, and that's also not Star Wars, which is why he shouldn't have made the choice to begin with, because even if you want to do it right, the only way to do it right is to tell a story that isn't a Star Wars type story. It was just, man, it was such a bad choice, and had major negative repercussions on the fan base. So that's all I got. I will talk to you guys later. Peace out.